We have heard about capital gains tax. We've heard about landlord taxes. We've talked about taxes on banks, a wealth tax. And what we hear today is quite a niche thing. So I'll explain it very quickly. This is something that specifically affects 190,000 people. So not that many, but it would net about £2 billion in tax. It's lawyers, family doctors and accountants. It's to do with the way that they set up their business, their practices. They use something called partnerships and they end up, they're not subject to employers' national insurance. And Rachel Reeves wants to kind of come after that and make that fairer, in her words. So I suppose the question I'm asking here is, when Rachel Reeves says that those with the broadest shoulders should bear the burden, or some of the burden, or most of the burden, is that who she means? And do you think that's right? Who should be penalised? I suppose some people would see it that way. Other people will say, well, you're paying your fair share. Who should the tax burden fall upon? On whose shoulders do you think? Let's speak to Douglas McWilliams, who is an economist, Commissioner of the Growth Commission, and a co-author of the new book, Prosperity Through Growth. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
What do you make then of this this idea? It would make quite a small dent, but I suppose Rachel Reeves, if she were to kind of unveil this particular charge in her budget next month, she wants to get to kind of the net effect of kind of clawing back lots of money. So do you think it would work?
It might work a bit, and I imagine it would be politically quite popular to put the burden of the tax increases on lawyers and accountants, because they're not the most popular people in the world. But they claim that the amount they pay is already fair. The fact they don't pay employers' national insurance contributions is because they are not employees, and they don't have the employees' protection that employees have. They are self-employed effectively, and if they get into trouble, they have to bail themselves out. They don't have employers to bail them out. That's their claim anyway.
Yeah.
Looking further ahead, the big problem is we're looking at trying to increase tax. Now, we've tried to increase tax in the last three budgets, and each time it's failed. It hasn't delivered the revenue. The economy has slowed down. And until the Chancellor realises that the only thing she can do is actually trim spending, I fear that we're going to be into more tax and spend. It disappoints, and then she'll come back for more next year.
She has said that she's not against trimming spending, though, is she?
Well, she hasn't done it. In her last budget, she increased spending by $109 billion. I mean, just to give you some numbers, 10 years ago, for every 6 employees in local government, there were 5 in central government. Now, guess what the number is now?
Go on.
It's 12. There are 12 employees in central government for every 6 in local government. And that's come from a combination of things. There has been austerity with local governments. They've cut their spending quite considerably. It's down by about a quarter. But there's been a real splurge in central government. And we have now a record number of people working in central government.
You said that increasing taxes hasn't done anything in terms of growth. I think I'm right in saying that.
That's correct.
Which is, we know growth is a huge problem. Have we been looking at the wrong taxes?
There is a bit to be gained from making taxes fairer. The book that I'm launching tonight and tomorrow night is with a man called Art Laffer, who's the man who invented something called the Laffer curve.
Oh, yes.
And the Laffer curve said that if tax is too high, you lose money. If they're too low, you lose money. And the question is, where is the happy medium? I think we can argue that with a fair number of taxes, we've gone above the point where you're getting the maximum revenue. Stamp duty is a very good example, but there are plenty of others as well.
Do you think that increasing employers' national insurance was counterproductive?
It turned out to be counterproductive, and indeed, I did say a year ago that it would be counterproductive. In this particular case, 2 things went wrong at the same time. You had the economy slowing down, And then you threw at employers two different things. You threw at them a huge rise in the minimum wage, and you also threw the rise in the employers' national insurance contributions. And it wasn't just a rise, it was a rise particularly heavily based on the lower paid. So the rise in the national insurance contribution to the low paid was much bigger proportionately than for anyone else. And that seems to have done a lot of damage, both in the labour market and to people's confidence generally.
So, Douglas, there's been quite a few kites flown, over the last 6 months. This is always the process, isn't it, before a budget? I can go through a couple of them very quickly. Presumably you think none of them would work. So capital gains tax, this is for high value homes. I think it was over 1.5 million, which, to most people is they're never going to own a house. It's 1.5 million. National insurance on rental income, taxing the banks, perhaps, some kind of wealth tax. And the other one, perhaps, that might be seen as being a bit more popular is the income tax thresholds, because Rachel Reeves is expected to keep them frozen by an additional year up to 2029 to 30. Which of those do you think would have any impact?
Well, I think if you want to raise money, you want to put up the tax and minimise the impact on growth. Pretty well any tax you raise will reduce growth a bit, but some you get a lot more money and you don't reduce growth so much. And the three big taxes, which are income tax, employees' national insurance contributions, and VAT, they're all politically hugely unpopular, and they're partly unpopular because of the reason that makes them less damaging to growth. You can't easily avoid them. But these are the taxes that would do least damage to growth, but they would still do some damage to growth.
Where do you think she should trim her spending?
I think you start with numbers of civil servants. They've clearly increased the numbers just a bit too fast. They're going to have to try and make the National Health Service more productive. And there are some very good suggestions from the Institute for Fiscal Studies who came out last week talking about what should be done to improve the benefit system, to encourage people to get back into work rather than staying on benefits, particularly on sickness benefits, and also to deal with the issue of special education needs costs, which have also been ballooning. These are areas where you can make an early start, and indeed the government is actually trying to do something, especially on the welfare side, where Stephen Timms, who's a good minister, I spoke on the same platform as him at the Labour Party conference. He's reviewing this, and he's trying to see what they can do.
What do you think the most likely thing is? What is the kind of the big ticket item, if you had to guess, when it comes to the budget?
I don't think she'll have a big ticket item. I think she's going to nickel and dime this one. I think your point about freezing the income tax allowances, that looks almost a certainty. But I think on top of that, there's possibility of national insurance on the lawyers and people like them on the limited liability partnerships, the LLPs. I think that does look a fair possibility.
But
it would be dangerous to tax the housing market because house prices are already, cost of housing is already too high.
But it doesn't raise enough money, does it? That's the point. I mean, all these things are, 2 billion sounds a lot to some people, but, in the grand scheme of things, it's not enough, is it?
We had a spending overrun. We had data out a couple of days ago, and the spending overrun for this year is running at about 15 billion. So that's an indication. I think it's possible the spending overrun next year will be even more than that. So I think she's got between 20 and 30 billion probably that she needs to find. So she'll have to do it in a number of different ways. She can't raise that kind of money from any single tax. And I think she will actually have to go back and look at spending, even though she's already increased it. I think she's going to have to eat some of her own words.
OK, Douglas, thank you. Douglas McWilliams, economist from the Growth Commission and co-author of the new book, Prosperity Through Growth.